All right. Good morning, everyone. It's an early class today. We are following the Friday schedule as per IIT Madras guidelines. Okay. So, so let's start from where we stopped last time. Our goal is to prove this theorem, right? If you have a non-separable graph, then any two edges participate in a common cycle, and it's if and only if. Okay. So it's a characterization of non-separable graphs. Okay. And in order to prove this, we are going to use the concept of subdividing an edge, which we discussed last time. So if you have a graph G with an edge E, which could also be a loop, then subdividing that edge basically means you remove that edge, UB, put a new vertex W, and join it to U and B. Right? In other words, you're basically putting a vertex on that edge, uh, informally speaking. Okay.
Sir, can you just repeat what you say? Because I got disconnected for a while.
Yeah, so I just defined subdivision, right?
Okay,
So if you followed the definition of subdivision, then you haven't missed anything.
okay, okay.
Okay. So we will say that H is obtained from G by subdividing edge E. Okay. And if the edge E is a loop, then the definition is still the same, except that now U is equal to V, but nothing in the definition really changes. Okay. And I gave you an exercise to prove that for any non-separable graph, which is not K2, if you subdivide an edge, then the resulting graph is again non-separable. Okay? So I hope everybody has proved that, and that would hopefully make you more comfortable with the concept of subdivision and that of non-separable graphs. Okay, so we are going to use this as a fact today. But before that, let me tell you what subdivision of a graph is. Subdivisions of a graph. So we will say that a graph H is a subdivision of a graph G if H may be obtained from G by repeated application of the operation subdividing an edge. Okay, which we defined above. So if you can repeatedly subdivide edges and get to the final graph, then we will say that that graph is a subdivision of the original graph. Okay, so to give you an example, here is the graph. Let's say, let me make K4 minus 1 edge. So this is K4 minus 1 edge. Okay, and now I can keep subdividing edges. Let me use the red color. So I can keep subdividing some edges. Okay, and this is a subdivision of K4 minus 1 edge. Okay, another way to think about it is you can pick any subset of the edges of the original graph G, and for each edge you replace it by a path. Okay, in particular you can keep the edge as it is, right? So you don't do any subdivisions. Like on this edge we did not do any subdivision operation. Okay, and we will consider G to be a subdivision of itself. Okay, because you can get G by subdividing zero edges. So we are going to consider the graph to be a subdivision of itself. Any questions or concerns pertaining to what a subdivision is? Some of you may have seen this before in the context of planarity, and if you haven't seen it, then you will see it in the next module in the context of planarity. Okay? So okay, I hope the definition is clear. So a consequence of this, which was on your do-it-yourself problems again, is that if you take any subdivision of G, where G is a non-separable graph that is not K2, then that will also be a non-separable graph. You are just applying this lemma repeatedly. So all subdivisions of G are non-separable graphs, right? Where G itself is a non-separable graph that is not isomorphic to K2. Okay, this was also one of your do-it-yourself problems from the last lecture. Everybody with me so far?
So this is because if we take a non-separable graph G which is not K2 and subdivide an edge, we'll again get a graph by this do-it-yourself. It will be non-separable and it will not be K2.
Right.
Again, we can
Exactly.
apply it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
If we are applying finitely many times, we can say that the resultant graph will be non-separable.
Exactly. Yep. Okay. So that's basically what's going on. So now let's try to, yeah, and I wanted to give you some other do-it-yourself problems regarding the subdivision definition. So please take a look at the last lecture, do-it-yourself problems. There are some other problems there related to subdivisions. Okay, so let's try to prove theorem 5.2. What is the result again? A connected graph G is non-separable if and only if for any two edges E1, E2, E1 and E2 participate in a common cycle. So there is one cycle that contains both the edges. Okay? So the easier direction, somewhat easier direction, is the converse. Right? So if any two edges belong to a cycle, then the graph is non-separable. Let's prove the contrapositive. If the graph is separable, then there should be some two edges that do not participate in a cycle. So let G be a separable graph, right? And our goal is to find two edges that do not belong to a common cycle. Well, so what does it mean to be separable? Let's make a drawing for the sake of visualization. Separable means there is a vertex V and the whole graph is G1 union G2. And G1 and G2 are disjoint except for the vertex V. And each of G1 and G2 contains one edge at least, right? So G is G1 union G2, G1 intersection G2 is exactly the vertex V. There are no common edges. And so, right, so this is the intersection of two graphs, right? So you take all the common vertices and edges, and what this is saying is that there is only one vertex in their intersection. Okay? And each of the GIs has at least one edge. Okay? So how should we find two edges that do not belong to a common set?
Yeah. A set of G1 intersection, a set of G2 should be empty set. A set of G1
that's right. That's right. So when I say G1 intersection G2, I mean I'm intersecting the vertex set and the edge set, and the only thing I find in the intersection is one vertex.
Okay.
Okay. Good. So how are we going to find two edges, E1 and E2, that do not belong to a common cycle? Anybody?
Sir, first of all, G1 is connected
Hmm.
and also G2
Yes,
is connected.
that's
So,
right.
so G1 is connected. In G1, there is an AG1 incident to B,
Right.
and in
Okay.
G2, there is also an AG2 incident to B. And
Okay. Okay. So let's consider two edges. Let EI be an edge in the graph GI, which is incident at the vertex V. Okay. For each I. Okay. So we are taking one edge here and another edge here. Of course, you might say, what if one of these edges is a loop? Then it would look like this. But then you are done anyways because E1 and E2 do not belong to a cycle, right? E2 itself is a cycle. So you cannot combine E2 with another edge to get another cycle, right? A loop belongs to only one cycle, which is itself, right? So in the loop case, we are done. If either of E1 and E2 is a loop, then there does not exist a cycle in G containing both edges. Okay? So now let's look at the other case where neither of them is a loop. So it looks like this. Well, once again, what does it mean to be a cycle containing E1 and E2? Well, if you take a cycle containing the edge E1, it will start at the vertex V, go like this, and it has to go, if you want to use the edge E2, you basically cannot do it because you have to come back to the vertex V. You're going to close your walk, but that means that you cannot make a bigger cycle out of this, right? So there is no way to contain the edge E2 and get a cycle if your cycle contains E1. Okay? So I hope everybody can turn that into a rigorous statement. And the same holds if neither E1 nor E2 is a loop. Okay? So now let's prove the other direction. Okay? So now we have a non-separable graph and we want to show that any two edges belong to a common cycle. Let G be a non-separable graph and let E1 and E2 be two edges of the graph. Notice that if the graph has only one edge or zero edges, note that if the number of edges of the graph is less than or equal to 2, then there is nothing to prove. Because any two edges belong to a cycle trivially because there are no two edges. There's only one edge in the graph or zero. Okay? So we can assume that our graph has at least two edges. In particular, this implies that G is not A2. Okay? So we have got our graph G and we have two edges, E1 and E2.
sir, I have a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So regarding the converse proof. So in the converse proof, what happens if either E1 or E2 is a loop?
Good. You tell me. Can either E1 E2 be a loop? So that's a good
So
question.
basically, we can agree that a loop cannot participate in a cycle with any other edge.
Right, but by definition of non-separable graph, is it possible for either of them to be a loop? Which are the non-separable graphs that have a loop?
Okay, so okay,
The
okay.
vertex with the loop.
Exactly. This is the only non-separable graph with a loop, right? So it automatically means that our graph does not have loops because we have at least two edges in the graph. Okay? Good. So they are both not loops. In other words, they are both what we call links. Okay. And now we want to show that there is a cycle containing these two edges. Everybody with me? So we are going to use a simple trick. We are going to use our previous theorem, which says that if your graph does not have any cut vertices, then any two vertices belong to a cycle. There are two internally disjoint paths between the two vertices, which is the same as saying that the two vertices belong to a common cycle. So what we'll do is we will subdivide the two edges E1 and E2. We'll put a vertex V1 and we'll put a vertex V2. So this is the graph H obtained from G by subdividing E1 and E2, subdividing by exactly one vertex. Okay. And now we can apply our do-it-yourself, right? Which is that H is a non-separable graph. By the do-it-yourself above, H is non-separable because the graph was not K2 and we subdivided two edges, right? And in particular, that means that H does not have a cut vertex, because cut vertices are also separating vertices, right? And non-separable means there are no separating vertices, so there are no cut vertices. And so now we can apply theorem 5.1. There exists a cycle C containing V1 and V2 in the graph H. Okay, so what does a cycle containing V1 and V2 look like? Well, V1 and V2 are vertices of degree 2, so both the edges have to be used. And now your cycle has to look like this, right? Both of these will be parts of your cycle. I don't care what the cycle looks like in the graph. The main point is that V1 and V2 are in your cycle. So the four edges incident with V1 and V2 will also belong to the cycle by definition of a cycle. Note that. Well, I won't write down
because
this. Yeah. Sorry?
This is because degrees of both V1 and V2 in H is 2.
Exactly. So by definition of cycle, all the four edges have to be in your cycle. Right? So now what we can do is we can transform this cycle into a cycle in our original graph containing E1 and E2. I will replace those two paths by just the two edges E1 and E2. Okay, so I'm not going to write down this part. It's clear, I hope. So observe that C corresponds to a cycle Q in the graph G, in G, containing the edges E1 and E2. Well, basically Q is C minus V1 minus V2 plus E1 plus E2. Okay, delete the two vertices and replace them by the two edges.
So basically, it's a C is the cycle in H and Q is the cycle in G.
That's right. Okay, so we see one simple application of the subdivision operation. There are, of course, other ways to prove this result, I guess. There have to be many ways to prove such basic results in graph theory. But this is one way to do it. One way is to rely on theorem 5.1 and just apply the subdivision operation. And you might recall that the proof of theorem 5.1 was much more difficult. We had to do induction on the vertices and we had to argue about the paths of the graph. So in some sense, we already did the heavy lifting in that theorem's proof. So here we are just leveraging the heavy lifting we've already done before. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So no, I just have, so we did the forward proof. When
Yeah.
doing the forward proof, we took help of that corollary, that S subdivision lemma.
Right.
So when doing the, sir, I think when doing the converse proof, we did not take help of it.
Right, that's right.
But I think the converse proof, we can also take the help of that lemma.
Okay, that's good.
In the sense that, so suppose we assume that any two edges of the graph G, first of all, G is non-separable. So if we assume that any two edges of the graph G participate in a common cycle, we have to show that G is non-separable.
Right.
So if any two edges participate in a common cycle, then must be the case that any edge of the graph cannot be a loop. Because if the any
That's
edge of the
right.
graph is a
Yeah.
loop, then entire graph
Yeah.
itself must be a loop. But in that case, the graph is separable.
That's right. Yeah.
So there can be no loop. So in a loopless graph, separating vertices and cut vertices are equivalent concept.
Right.
So now if I take any two edges,
Hmm.
suppose we know that they participate and they are not loops, they are basically links. All edges are links.
Right. They
And
are
we
two
know
links.
they participate
Yeah.
in a common cycle. So since they participate in a common, now what we can do, so if we take any two vertices of the graph,
Hmm.
suppose V1 and V2,
Hmm.
so if we assume that G is connected,
Hmm.
if that we assume, so we know that V1 has at least one incident edge and also V2 has at least one incident edge, say E1 and E2.
Okay.
Now we know that E1 and E2 participate in a common cycle.
Hmm.
So that means V1 and V2 also must participate in that cycle.
That's right.
Basically, we have shown that any two vertices in the graph participate in a common cycle. That means the graph has no cut vertices. Since it has no cut vertices, it has no separating vertices. So
Right.
it must be non-separable.
Right. Right. So you're again using theorem 5.1.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Got it. Yeah. That's nice. Okay. That's cool. So it seems that um, one can prove this using theorem 5.1 as well. Okay. So I'm writing seems that because I didn't check every detail, but I couldn't find a mistake in your argument. Okay.
Is my argument right?
Yeah, it seems to be correct. But if you want more surety, just post it on Piazza so that everybody can check it. But right now,
Okay.
I don't see any mistakes in your argument.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah. Good. All right. Any other questions or comments? Right. So for most results like this in graph theory, which are sort of basic results, you will find many different proofs of them. Okay. And it's a good idea to look for different proofs and improve your understanding of the concepts. All right. So if all of this is good, let's move on to a next topic related to non-separable graphs. Let me start a new page. Okay, and this part is called the block decomposition of a graph. And some of you may have seen it in your previous courses in graph theory. Okay. So, what are components of a graph? One way to define a component is they are maximal connected subgraphs of a graph. The components of a graph are maximal connected subgraphs of a graph. Okay? In other words, it's a connected subgraph so that you cannot make it bigger. If you take a bigger subgraph, then it will not be connected. What does maximal connected subgraph mean? It is a connected subgraph H of given graph G such that any proper supergraph of H is disconnected. So if you add any more vertices or edges to this graph from your original graph G, then you will get a graph that is not connected. Okay? To give you a quick example, if this is your graph, notice that the biggest subgraph that is connected, there are two of them. By biggest, I mean maximal, right? So you can't make it bigger. There are two of them, and they are basically the components of your given graph. Okay? So if you take this as your H, and if you add any other vertices or edges from the other side, let's say you add this vertex and this edge, then the graph you get will be disconnected. Right? You can't make it bigger by adding other vertices and edges, keeping it connected. Okay. So that is what a component is. But now we can define blocks of a graph using the same idea. The blocks of a graph are the maximal non-separable subgraphs of a graph. Okay? So can anybody tell me how many blocks are there in this graph?
Sir, I think for a disconnected graph, blocks will basically for every connected component you have to consider it blocks.
Right. So how many are there in this one?
So in the first component, I think so any two blocks first of all in a loopless graph will share a card vertex.
Right.
So and it will share at most one card vertex. So in the first graph, I think in the first component, I think there is only two blocks.
Two blocks. Okay. And can somebody else
Then
tell me how many blocks are there in the second graph, in the second component? How many blocks in the second component? Somebody else, please. Everybody's too sleepy, I guess. Okay. Well, I see one block here, and basically there is again exactly one separable separating vertex in this component. Right. So we get one blue component, blue block, and let's say the other one is orange or something. Okay, so you have four blocks here. Okay, good. And okay, so these are the blocks of this given graph. And blocks are also often called bi-connected components, but we will not be using that term. We will call them blocks. You might have seen them in a previous course with this term. Okay. So let's go back to our example, our bigger example that we drew last time. I think we have some time to cover this. So let's do this. So this is the graph we drew last time. So can someone count the number of blocks and tell me how many there are? So we had marked 6 separating vertices, V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, and the last one, V6, which is a separating vertex but not a cut vertex. Okay, just to remind you from that example. And so we have six separating vertices. And how many blocks do we have in this graph?
Then I think there will be 6 blocks. I mean, either 6 or 7 blocks. I'm not sure.
Are you sure? Start counting. You are a bit off here. So this
Basically,
is, yeah, this is one block. You agree?
yeah, it's one block. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. This is another block. Notice what I'm doing is I'm just marking the edges because any edge will participate in exactly one block. That is something you'll be proving as a do-it-yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to mark the edges and the vertices will be those vertices that are part of that edges. Okay. So this is red is one block, blue is another block. We are going to run out of colors. So let me call them B1, B2. Here is another block, B3. This is another block, B4. Here you have another block, B5. This is yet another block, B6. So do you see 6 blocks or many more blocks?
Yeah, there will be many more. Actually, the
Many
loops
more.
will be in.
Right.
Yeah.
B7, B8, B9, and let's see, B10. Okay. So if you apply the definition, you will see that there are exactly 10 blocks. These are exactly those subgraphs that are non-separable and they are maximal with this property. So you cannot make any subgraph bigger by adding other vertices or edges and maintaining the non-separable property. Okay. And you kind of visually seeing them is much easier than applying the formal definition. If you just have a small example, you can actually visually find out all the blocks like we did right now. Are there any questions or concerns regarding why these are the blocks of the graph? Is everybody convinced?
Sir, I have a question. So in any
Yeah.
graph, if
Yeah.
it has loop, if G has
Yeah.
loops,
Yeah.
then every loop of the graph will be in a separate block.
That's right. That's right.
And in that block, there will be only that loop only, no other loop.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Means no other loop or any other edge.
Yeah. You can see that easily by applying the previous theorem, right? Because any two edges must participate in a common cycle. So a loop cannot participate in a cycle with any other edge by definition of a cycle. Therefore, a loop must be a block in its own right.
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
let's say there are like 3 or 4 multiple edges between two vertices.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Then would you like pair 2 of them and leave one as a different block? Or
Yeah. So what do you think? Supposing there are 5 edges between two vertices, U and V. Do you think they can be part of separate blocks or they will all belong to one block?
I think there should be like 3 blocks or something. Not sure.
Why can't they all belong to one block? Because any two edges belong to a cycle, right?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Any two belong to a cycle, right?
Yeah.
So that means that they are all going to be. So we haven't proved things. There's actually going to be a do it yourself. Let me write it down. So let me write down a DIY.
So, sir, basically, whenever
Yeah.
we encounter multiple edges, so multiple edges
Yeah.
must belong to a single block.
Exactly, exactly. And this is related to another observation. Yeah.
Any two edges
Uh-huh.
in their multiple edges set belong to a participant in a common cycle. So they
Exactly.
will form a non-separable subgraph.
Yes, that's right. So here is a proposition on which many of these things rely, and I'm not going to prove this. It's easy, and you should try it on your own. So for any graph, any two blocks, they have at most one vertex in common. If they have more than two vertices in common, then you will get a contradiction using some argument. Okay. So any two blocks will have at most one vertex in common. Furthermore, if you look at the blocks of the graph G and you view them as edge sets, so you don't think about the vertices, you just consider the edge sets, like we have done in this example. I've just colored the edges to indicate the blocks. What you get is a one cover of the graph. What does one cover mean? Every edge will be part of one block and no edge will be part of two blocks, right? So all the edges will be covered exactly once by the blocks, which is what is happening in this example. And that's not a coincidence. Okay, maybe I should recolor block B2. Let me recolor so that it's clearer. Let me use orange or something. Okay, so now you can see clearly that all the edges are covered and each edge is covered by exactly one block. Each edge belongs to exactly one block, right? So this is what statement 2 is saying. And last part is that each cycle of the graph is contained in a block of G. So you can't have a cycle that goes between two blocks. Okay? So it's a simple application of the definitions and theorem 5.2.
So let me test my understanding.
Yeah.
So it's like that if some graph has a block as a subgraph,
Right.
then that graph has a cut vertex.
If there is a block as a proper subgraph,
Yes, proper subgraph.
then there has to be a separating vertex.
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay. So actually, that brings me to another question.
Sir, in
Yeah.
the provision 5.8, so when you are saying that any two blocks have at most one vertex in common, so if two blocks have a one vertex in common, then that vertex must be a separating vertex.
That is correct. Any vertex that is common between two blocks is necessarily a separating vertex of the graph. So what is, okay, I have not defined a block tree yet. Sorry. Okay. Any other questions?
So also for this part
Yeah.
C, that any cycle of G is contained within a single block, means as an S set. So this is because cycles are non-separable subgraphs and
That's
blocks
right.
are maximal. And
Exactly.
blocks are maximal one.
Exactly, right. So what you need to prove is really the part B is very important. The two blocks cannot really meet except in one vertex. And the second part, which is that they comprise of one cover of the graph. So if you prove part A and part B, then part C follows immediately from that. Okay. So let me tell you what a block tree of a graph is. So I'll tell you why it is a tree. First, I'll define it as a bipartite graph. Okay. So what you do is you take all the blocks of your graph and you put them on the left hand side. So in this example, you will have 10 blocks. B1, B2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And you put your separating vertices on the other side. Okay. And whenever a separating vertex is part of a certain block, you join that vertex in your right hand side graph with those blocks. So if you look at this example, V1 is part of B1 and B2. So you will join V1 with B1 and B2. Okay. V2 is part of B2, B3 and B5. So B3 is here, B4, B5. So V2 is part of B2, B3 and B5. Okay. So is the construction clear? So a block B is
It's a
adjacent.
bipartite graph.
Yeah, this is a bipartite graph with a separating vertex V if and only if V is a vertex of the block. Okay, so if this is your graph G, then you will get a block tree of the graph G in this way. Okay, and this is clearly bipartite by definition. But what is even more interesting is that this graph is actually going to be a tree because of the last part here. So in fact, this implies that the block tree of a graph is indeed a tree, which is why we are calling it the block tree. Okay, and this is because every cycle of the graph is contained in one block. So if your tree had a cycle, you would be able to find a cycle in the original graph that belongs to two different blocks. Okay, so this is an implication of part C.
So why it is an implication of part C is not clear to me.
Yeah, so I'll put it as a do it yourself. It's not difficult. But the main idea is, supposing your block tree has a cycle, then you should be able to find a cycle in the original graph that will belong to two different blocks, right? And this contradicts part C.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. So basically, if block tree is not a tree, then the part C will not be true of the proposition.
Exactly. Exactly.
Part C will not be
Right?
true. Okay. Okay, sir. Okay.
Good. Okay, so now I want to ask you a quick question. What is the block tree of a non-separable graph? In a non-separable graph, how many blocks do you have and how many separating vertices do you have?
We have only one block.
Only one block, no separating vertices. So what is the block tree?
K1.
K1. Okay, that is the block tree of a non-separable graph. And second question, yeah, go ahead.
Can you say what block 3 was again? I wasn't there.
Oh, okay. Well, it's you put the blocks of the graph on the left side and you put the separating vertices of the graph on the right side. Okay? And what is the adjacency? Adjacency is defined here. A block and a separating vertex are adjacent if and only if that separating vertex belongs to that block in the original graph G.
So why don't you define block tree in this way? Like B1 and B2 are adjacent because they have vertex in common.
B1 and B2 are not adjacent, right? Two blocks will never be adjacent.
No, I'm saying define block tree as follows.
I see. So you want to change the definition, which is fine.
Yeah.
Right? So you can think about what that definition leads to. Right? So you are saying that you want to make
Oh, it leads to a cycle when three blocks meet at a common vertex. Yeah,
Right,
yeah, I
that's
got it,
true.
got it.
Yeah? Okay. Okay. So there are, you can think of other ways of defining structures on the graph. So that's one way to do it. But the block tree has some very interesting properties, which is why we are talking about it. And in fact, it will be useful to us in some future results that we'll be proving. Okay? Good. So is the definition of block tree clear?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let me ask you one more question. If G is a tree, what do its blocks look like? So if your original graph is a tree, so then what are the blocks of the tree?
I think for a tree, every vertex is a card vertex. Except the leaf.
Yeah, except the leaves, yeah.
Except the leaves, every vertex is a card vertex. So,
Right.
so the blocks of the tree will exactly be the singleton sets. corresponding to
That's
each
right.
non-leaf vertex.
Exactly. In fact, every edge of the graph will become one block of the graph. You
Exactly.
agree?
Every edge is become
Right? So each block is basically a K2.
yeah, each block is basically K2. Yes.
Okay?
There will be n minus one blocks
That's right.
for tree on n vertices.
Yes. Good. All right. So we haven't proved anything regarding these things. Everything is a do it yourself because they're not too difficult. And I don't want to spend too much time on the block tree, which is something you might have seen on your previous graph theory courses. Okay? Good. I just want to define a few things. What are the end blocks of a graph? The end blocks of a graph are basically those blocks that correspond to leaves in the block tree. Those blocks of G that correspond to leaves in the block tree of G. So can somebody tell me what are the end blocks in this example?
Sir, I think so. Basically, by the definition of n blocks, so n blocks are exactly those blocks which have exactly one separating vertex.
That is correct. So because they are leaves in the tree, they will be adjacent
Yeah.
to exactly one separating vertex.
Yeah.
Right? So what are the, so B1 is an end block. Can anybody
Yeah.
else tell me what are the end blocks of this graph? B1 is one of them.
B4, B10.
B4, B10. Any others? Do you see any other blocks which have exactly one separating vertex?
B8, B9.
B8, B9. Okay, anyone else?
B6.
B6, okay, fine. That's it, right? There are 6 end blocks in this graph. And I will give you a do it yourself. Draw the block tree for this graph. Draw the block tree for the graph G. Okay? And verify that these are indeed the end blocks. Okay, so that is the end blocks. I want to define one more thing, the internal vertices of a block. What is an internal vertex of a block? It is those vertices of the block which are not separating vertices of the original graph. Those vertices, let me say block B, those vertices of B that are not separating vertices of the original graph G. So can anybody tell me what are the internal vertices of the block B7?
I think it will be only. I think there are no
Only-
internal vertices.
Are you sure?
There is one.
There is one internal vertex. V3, V4 and V5 are not internal vertices, but the last vertex W
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. It will be
is an internal vertex. Okay? Good.
So internal vertices are exactly those vertices which are not separating vertices of the block.
Yes, exactly. Okay?
Means it is a vertex of the block, but is not a separating vertex of G rather.
That's right. That's right. Right? So vertex of the block that is not a separating vertex in the original graph. Good. All right. So, okay. So I just want to say the last point here. I will be putting some more do-it-yourself problems in Piazza, as I often do, which I don't have time to write down here. I just want to tell you the key takeaway of this lecture. So why are we discussing about the blocks of a graph? It's because for many problems in graph theory, you don't need to look at all the connected graphs. You just need to look at the non-separable graphs. Or in other words, you just look at the blocks of the graph. If you understand the blocks, then you can solve your problem for the whole graph. Okay, so one example is, there's a do-it-yourself. A graph has a cycle 2 cover, which is also called a cycle double cover, if and only if each of its blocks has a cycle to cover. This is not difficult to prove. You just need to understand the definition of a cycle to cover and the blocks. Okay, so prove this. And the main point is that this phenomenon occurs for many problems in graph theory, right? So you just need to, we just need to solve the problem, whatever problem is at hand,
What is GT?
graph theory,
Okay.
for non-separable graphs. Okay. I might give you some other do-it-yourself exercises related to this phenomenon, right? And what that means is that to prove results for graphs, you can consider only the non-separable graphs, okay? And the block tree gives you a way of doing induction on connected graphs, right? So another way to look at this result is it's an induction tool for connected graphs, where the base case would be non-separable graphs. Okay, but now you need an induction tool for non-separable graphs, and that we will be discussing in our lecture on Wednesday. So the next lecture is about an induction tool for non-separable graphs. It's called ear decompositions. Okay. All right, so that's all for today's lecture. I'm going to stop recording.
So basically, said the induction tool for connected graphs comes from block decomposition.
That's right.
In similar way as the induction tool for non-separable graphs comes from ear decomposition.
That's right. Exactly.